You mentioned earlier this kind of massive attack by the Trump administration on colleges and universities. You obviously care a great deal about academia. You work in academia. You have pretty much your adult life. It's something that I know you value. You've spent a lot of time here before talking about your ardent belief in free speech and how the attacks on protest are eroding it on campus. But now we have something in a different universe than what we saw in 2024. Not only these deportations of law-abiding, legal immigrants in the United States for the crime of criticizing or protesting Israel, but also, demands now that colleges and universities adopt this radically expansive definition of hate speech and anti-Semitism to include all sorts of criticisms of Israel, including now outlawing something you said earlier, which was comparing and contrasting Israeli actions with the acts of the Nazis. That is something that wherever this expanded definition of anti-Semitism is adopted would essentially could get you expelled if you're a student, potentially fired if you're an academic. But then on top of that, you have, this whole kind of climate where speakers are being disinvited if they're going to talk about Gaza. You have Middle East studies programs at Columbia being put under receivership at the demands of the Trump administration. At Harvard, you have the Middle East studies director and associate director forced out because they're not pro-Israel enough. What do you make of all of this in terms of the future of free speech and academic freedom in American academia?
Well, it's a disaster. There's just no question about it. Not only is free speech being attacked here, but I think that the Trump administration is bent on badly damaging universities. It's bent on wrecking them. When you come into a university from the outside, the way the administration is doing, and you dictate how that university is run in all sorts of ways that are completely antithetical to the way our great universities have been run for a long, long time, you are threatening the existence of some of the most important institutions, not only in the United States, but on the planet. I have a number of friends who are not Americans, who come from foreign countries, who can't believe what we're doing because they think that American universities are the most wonderful institutions in the world. This is not to say that our universities don't have problems. They do have problems, and those problems need to be addressed. But nevertheless, to bring a wrecking ball in and take places like Harvard and Columbia and Princeton and Penn, and now they've added Brown to the list, and take the wrecking ball to them, in my mind, is really just crazy. Why would anybody do this? But again, as I said to you before, Glenn, you do not want to underestimate how radical Trump is.
Yeah, well, just to make the argument that I hear often from Trump supporters and defenders of all of this, which is, universities used to be an epicenter of innovation and research and produced cures, created the internet. Mark Andreessen, a prominent Trump supporter who obviously was instrumental in the creation of the internet with Netscape, told the New York Times that it was basically Al Gore, despite all the mockery he got, who really did lead the way in getting funding for key institutions to do the research that ultimately led to browsers and to the internet. That's been the history of American academia. The argument now is, look, now they're just hotbeds of left-wing ideology and gender studies and sociology. And beyond that, they can do whatever they want, but not if they're getting federal funding. If they're getting federal funding, they have to kind of align themselves with the ideology of the federal government, or they don't have to get federal funding and they can do what they want. What do you make of those?
Look, I think there's no question that the political center of gravity in universities is too far to the left and needs to be pushed back towards the center. It's not as dire a situation by any means as critics on the right make out. But I would come at this whole issue from a different perspective. I wouldn't focus simply on the inventions that come out of universities. I would focus on the phenomenon of critical thinking. What universities do is they teach young people to think critically. Most young people have not figured out by the time they graduate from high school how to think critically. how to read a book and pick it apart and figure out what the author's argument is and how to counter that argument. And what universities are really good at is teaching young people, whether you're in the hard sciences, the humanities, or in the social sciences, to think critically. And free speech, of course, is inextricably bound up with critical thinking. You want people to be free to ask any questions that pop into their mind. You want them to be free to make arguments that disagree with arguments that you, the professor, are making. This is what the enterprise is all about. It's what makes it such a wonderful enterprise. It's why people from all around the world are so interested in coming to universities. And what the Trump administration is doing, and of course the Israel lobby is playing a key role here, is undermining this process by undermining critical thinking, by making it impossible to state your views on particular issues for fear that you'll be thrown in jail or you'll be dismissed from the position that you're in. So this is really a huge mistake on the part of the Trump administration, and it is a huge mistake on the part of the Israel lobby. They should absolutely not be doing this. It is not in the interest of Israel's supporters to pursue these kind of policies on university and college campuses.
You know, I still remember the excitement I felt when I got to college and, started exploring things and getting exposed to ideas that I had never previously known had existed. And not only that, but being encouraged, not just like allowed, but encouraged to question every piety, every orthodoxy. I got in a lot of debates with, professors who had been studying these issues for a long time, and they encouraged that. You challenge them and you have these exchange of ideas. And what amazes me about it is you have all these people who talk about preserving our nation and its kind of founding values. And you go back to the Enlightenment, which is, essentially what gave birth to the American founding, the Enlightenment ideals and values. There was all this kind of, not just discussion about the supreme importance of free speech and free discourse, but also having a place where all taboos and all pieties get picked at and questioned, which is academia. And this has been central to the American founding and the American way of life for centuries. And it's amazing to me to watch people who say that they are devoted to preserving the American life and the American values to be so supportive of this full frontal attack on this all for the benefit of a foreign country.
I agree with you. Just to come at it from another perspective, Glenn, the fact is that we live in a remarkably complicated world. And it's hard to figure out what's going on. As you pointed out at the top of the show, it's hard to keep up with the news because there's a new issue every day on a new subject. So we collectively are having lots of trouble just trying to make sense of the world that we operate in. What I think we do at universities is we teach critical thinking, which is what allows students who then become adults, young adults and older adults, we teach them to think critically about the world. We teach them how to try to make sense of the world so that they can navigate the world. It will make them better citizens. And I think this is just a very important function that we serve. And I think it, again, just is foolish in the extreme for the Trump administration and the Israel lobby to take the wrecking ball to that enterprise.
Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.